with more BCB Live and Drive Safe Dave. We have Mr. Alex Larsen. Alex, hey, welcome to the show. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Man, it is good to have you here. You know what? Let me tell you something. From me to you, it's always good to have another safety brother out there on the road. Watching the road, watching safety, that passion for safety. Alex, talk to us a little bit about your company and where that passion for safety comes from.
So, I am the owner and lead consultant for DEC Freight Solutions. We focus on safety, but we help with compliance as well. Uh, Safety came to me. Safety has always been extremely important to me. I've seen way too many fatality wrecks, and sorry, apparently I got something in my throat.
Oh, you're okay, sir.
I've seen way too many fatality wrecks through my time in law enforcement and fire and EMS. Whenever I was younger, ended up on the road driving, and I've just seen way too many wrecks since then. And the number of people we're losing, the amount of money that comes out of a wreck because people are paying attention to their phones or speeding to try to hurry up and get somewhere. Uh, that all became problematic to me, and I wanted to do something to help encourage safer driving and eliminate fatality wrecks, if not all wrecks altogether.
So, and as we talk about this, I just want to make sure, as a police officer, you were out there at the actual scenes, working accident scenes, right? I mean, you were doing those and talking to the people involved and seeing some of the great carnage, correct?
Yes. Yeah, there were a few of them I have actually witnessed firsthand, like while it was happening. So it played a big role in that.
Hey, talk to me a little bit about taking your experience and how you use that to help maybe the owner operator or that smaller carrier become more successful in that compliance, in safety, in that aspect.
So right now, the two biggest costs in the trucking industry is going to be your fuel and insurance. By slowing down and not using your brakes as much, by not following too closely, uh, you will reduce your fuel cost, but if you it will also reduce your insurance cost. If you turn in your uh, e-log information to your insurance provider, it actually lowers the insurance cost as well. Those are two big ways in today's society, in today's market, that you can cut down on cost just by driving a little bit safer.
Hey, what are some common maybe mistakes or common issues that this smaller carrier, the independent contractor, they have today?
A lot of the smaller carriers aren't big on using e-logs. They're not big on using a lot of the newer safety devices. Um, they feel like they are a safe enough driver, and for a lot of our owner operators, they are. A lot of our owner operators, they care about their equipment, they care about the industry, and they want to better the industry.
Hey, what are your thoughts?
But
You bring that up real quick. What are your thoughts on the independent contractor that has perhaps that maybe it's a truck that's 5 or 7, 8 years old. They believe that they are safe and very safe, and they probably are. What's your thoughts on the newest technology in the trucks for an owner operator that really does help them, that has all the sensors, Dave? We're talking the following too close, the lane departure, the cameras,
Collision
yeah,
avoidance
collision
system,
avoidance, the cameras in
passive.
the truck that does that coaching that reminds them that perhaps they're following too close. What are your thoughts on that versus the independent contractor that believes that what they do, because they've never had an issue, never had an accident, you know, how do you fight that or talk to them about that, or what's your thought process on that?
so all the modern technology is very beneficial. They have done really good at making our trucks safer. Uh, Unfortunately, along with that technology, it has allowed some of the drivers who jump in it to be a little bit less attentive because it has encouraged them. Like they know that if they're leaving their lane, they will hear a buzz and they'll be able to readjust. Uh, my only problem with the lane departure is it very easily will get off track and will buzz when you're in the middle of your lane. If it picks up something like it'll go off if it picks up tire tracks in the middle of the road or something like that, or if you're in a construction zone and there's paint from other areas, so it can get a little bit annoying and it irritates drivers. And with that, it makes those drivers a little bit more reckless because they're irritated and frustrated with that. So I feel like the technology is great. I don't think a lot of the drivers are going to, a lot of the owner operators aren't going to want that particular piece of technology. Uh, the following distance one, that is extremely important to me. I think that a lot of owner operators, or a lot of drivers all the way around can benefit from the following distance.
Have you
It's
had any?
easy to do what?
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought you were done. I'm sorry. I was just going to ask, what about dash cams? Forward-facing cameras, and how they're being applied. Have you seen? Can you kind of walk me through how you talk and what your feelings are first on dash cams, forward-facing cameras, and then how you talk a driver or owner operators into getting those?
I think both the forward and rear facing dash cams are very beneficial. Uh, the rear facing dash cam, when you're doing what it's supposed to be doing, it will do nothing but save your butt uh, in a fatal wreck. So I have always been a firm believer in dash cams. They are going to be useful if somebody tries to cut you off and they want to try to blame it on you. They jump in front of you, slam on the brakes. I've had that happen to me several times, mostly out in Atlanta. Uh, I've had drivers. I've had one incident where I was working for a major carrier and I had a forward and rear facing dash cam in my truck, and it saved me from a at fault accident. Somebody was trying to merge into my lane with me in my lane. They hit the side of my truck and trailer, and it showed that I was not on my phone. It showed that I was in my lane like I was supposed to, and it had kept me from an at fault accident. So it's very beneficial in my opinion.
How do you talk owner operators that are hesitant into getting those?
I'll just explain the benefits to them. I mean, some owner operators just aren't going to want them, unfortunately.
I mean, heck, it's a lot of company trucks too, as well. It's not just the owner operator that struggle with some of that newer technology. It's still not everybody still doesn't have it. Although you do see it, it's becoming more and more prevalent in the industry. Hey, the owner operators, what do you see the big difference in the compliance aspect? Why do they need you as opposed to if they were leased on to another carrier or a small owner operator that maybe that's leased on to another company running under their authority?
So with contracting or working for a major carrier, they tend to have big safety departments. They invest thousands, if not millions of dollars into their safety departments. Uh, and they can help, and they have their own compliance people. They have their own safety. Smaller carriers don't get that opportunity. They can't afford that. And they need somebody on their side who can help make sure that the documents are turned in on time, that they are having a safety plan put in place, making ensure that they can pass their DOT audits every year. And that's what I offer for the smaller guys so that they can compete with the major carriers and not get hit with compliance.
Yeah,
Negative
when you think
review.
about what you're saying there, that smaller carrier, the the independent contractor or the fleet guy that's got 3 or 4 or 5 trucks, that business, oftentimes the owner is also that safety consultant, is also the dispatcher, is all in one. Talk to me about that, because there's a lot of inherent dangers, risk, when the safety person is also the owner, is also the dispatcher. Talk to me a little bit about that when you're talking to the owner operator with the smaller fleet.
Yeah, a lot of them, they're worried about making the money. They're worried about getting their freight delivered on time. And they may overlook a small mechanical issue something that they feel like it's minor, they can take care of later. They could have, uh, they could overlook uh, something like not having your ELD card in the truck to prove that, to have the instructions on how to work the ELD card or the ELD. Uh, there's all kinds of things that go into running the company, and they need to focus on their making sure that their company is profitable. I want to make sure that their company is safe and it's able to keep running.
I think I like the idea, and I think that's what Rick was alluding to, that there's a different voice in there, because if one voice is worried about money, then the other voice is not worried about nearest safety. And when you have you coming in there and stepping in and say, hey, now wait a minute, that I understand you want to get there, but at the same time we want to get there safely. I do appreciate. So when you talk, and I appreciate how that second voice. What does some of that training look like? I mean, how do you go through the first training process when you walk into a new company?
First thing I want to do is I'll go and we'll review, take a look through one of the trucks, see I'll do a pre-trip on the truck, see what's going on with the equipment. I'll look through the documents, the logbook, all of the documents, company documents related to safety and compliance. Anything that they'll let me go through so that I can help them. Then I will put together a program for them. It varies based on what they need. Typically, I get a lot of my knowledge from the J.J. Keller. They are an awesome company. I've learned a lot from them. So I will use stuff from their training material to help out with help these new companies.
When it comes to certain issues in the trucking industry, one big one has always been the usage of personal conveyance. A lot of times when we get owner operators in, or even just drivers in, they'll even rename it to personal convenience, right? I mean, talk to me about personal conveyance. What's your thoughts to the independent contractor, the small business owner out there, and how they use personal conveyance?
So, personal conveyance is a tool that we have, and it allows us as drivers to be able to drop our trailer and go to Walmart, go wherever we need to go for personal reasons. As long as we're not going in the direction of the load or something for a company business, then I don't see a problem with using personal conveyance.
Yes, and I think where it gets sticky at is when you're running out of hours, right? And you can't just then decide to go on personal conveyance, drive another 300 miles towards your area. That becomes personal convenience.
Yes, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that happen.
Absolutely. It becomes, yeah, and then all of a sudden, well, it's just a re-way to look at your logbook. I mean, it's a totally different deal, and I hope we continue to do that.
Hey, what about the data? So I'm going to go into this because a lot of your information from the fleets, it comes from data, right? First of all, the electronic log has to be used. Does it talk? Who's looking at the electronic log? from those companies. I mean, what methods do they have today, or what are you doing to really show them to look at their, the system, their computers on that data that says how many hours this driver is going to have right now, how many they have left right now. Their load may deliver in 8 hours, but if they only have 5, it's impossible to deliver that load. Do you show them how to use their own systems?
As long as one of them I've used before, yeah. There are a few companies who use e-logs that I've never seen before, and I barely know how to work those systems. So, but no, I will go through them. I'll go through with them, uh, help them keep track of the driver's hours, uh, and help them get it submitted to their insurance provider because they need to get that insurance cost lower. And if they're not running in compliance, that insurance cost isn't going to lower down any.
What's the biggest pushback you get? I'm just curious. I mean, a lot of the times when you're in training somebody, sometimes you get pushback. What's the biggest pushback you get from the companies you go into or the people that you talk to?
It's typically going to be anything that has to do with money. They don't want to spend any more money than they absolutely have to. It's hard to get them to invest in safety because they don't feel like they can see the return.
Yeah, it's a tough place to get that return on. It sometimes can take 3 years before you to get that return on investment because you got to have a certain path, for the insurance company to know that you're safe today. And safe today means you have a history, 3 to 5 years of being safe. But it is something, and I say, love what you're doing. Again, we've got to continue to work towards being safe, that downtime. And again, just when you get into an accident, the repair time, the truck's not there now, you have to rent a truck if you can find a truck, so many things. One more thing I do want to talk about, though, is the hiring criteria. What is your advice to the small fleet on hiring criteria? Because that becomes an issue when you have a truck sitting.
Yeah. So when it comes to hiring criteria, it depends on what you want. If you just want to throw somebody in the truck, it's going to end up costing you a lot more. My recommendation would be find somebody with 2 years of safe driving, somebody reliable. But in order to get somebody like that in today's market, you're going to have to pay more for it. And a lot of companies aren't willing to do that. They want the cheaper option. So that kind of hurts them in the long run too, because they're going to get a newer driver who doesn't care about their equipment. They're going to run their equipment into the ground. They're going to quit, and you're still going to have your insurance likely to go up. So when it comes down to hiring, I really recommend finding people who are going to be a safe driver for you and pay them a good wage. Pay them well enough to keep them, because if not, they're just going to quit on you again. And we have too high of a turnover rate in this industry, which is a proven factor.
Yeah, I'm going to agree 100%. Again, we don't want to hire our problems. And for the smaller fleet, for any fleet out there, our advice remains the same is, what? Set your standards to someone that is that's safe and can maintain a truck and drive it safe no matter what. Don't get desperate enough just to put a body in the truck. Never do that. It will always come back and bite you. And again, when that accident happens from that driver, and maybe you don't get one, but if it does happen, understand you've really just kind of changed your insurance rates, possibly the premiums for the next 3 years. It is a cost-saving thing. I'm going to encourage each and every one of you, the smaller folks. Listen, if you're in Oklahoma, we want to make sure we can get a hold of Alex up there. Hey, what are the best ways for them to get a hold of you?
Right now, I don't have a website up yet. I was hoping to have one up before the show, but unfortunately, I didn't get it up. So LinkedIn would be one good way to get a hold of me. If not, It's larsen.decfreightsolution@gmail.com.
All right.
All right, thank you very much. And one thing we always ask our guests to do, Alex, before they leave, we always ask them to state their name, who they're with, and that you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Can you do that for us?
Yes, sir. My name's Alex Larsen. I'm with DEC Freight Solutions, and we are on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
All right.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right, Alex, appreciate you, buddy. Hey, keep it up. Stay safe out there. And you know what? Stay diligent in what you're doing. What you're doing is important to our industry. Thank you for doing what you do, buddy.